Hey now, 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Welcome to the program. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Spencer Dupuis joining me alongside on the other side of the glass. Dan Lucero is out on vacation this week. Big day in the capital city. Washburn men's basketball playing its biggest game in 24 years tonight. Central Region Final taking on MSU Moorhead. Winner heads to the Elite Eight in Evansville, Indiana. I'll be on the call of that one tonight, 7 o'clock, 6:45 pregame over on our sister station, Country 106.9. Got the old Washburn sport coat on today. Got the Aviators rocking them in studio for a couple minutes. It's going to hurt to stare at the screen too long with the Aviators on.
You suited up for your last home broadcast of the year.
The last home broadcast of the year, biggest game in a couple decades. It's going to be a big one. Hope to see you out there at Lee Arena. I have heard through the grapevine, might have a capacity crowd on our hands tonight. So if you haven't gotten tickets, better go hunting for them right now. And if you're not going to make it out to Lee Arena, then make sure you tune in this evening to Country 106.9 to hear your boy on the microphone as Washburn takes on the Dragons of MSU Moorhead. I'm fired up about it, fired up about the show today. Plenty to get to. We are off half an hour early today for coverage of the NCAA Division I tournament, first four. We've got a matchup of 16 seeds, St. Francis of Pennsylvania and Alabama State, and North Carolina, the least deserving team in the field maybe this year, taking on San Diego State. Both those games coming up tonight. We'll have the doubleheader for you right here on 580 WIBW. We'll also have the other half of the first four coming up on tomorrow here on 580 WIBW. So stay tuned for that. We're done a half an hour early today. We've got plenty to get to on the show. However, for the Big 12, what is on the line this March? This NCAA tournament, what is on the line for individual teams in the conference? Who has the most to gain? Who has the most to lose? Can we see a KU team change its perception among its fan base and among the country one way or the other this year? We're going to get to that coming up to lead off the show in just a few minutes. We'll also get to some other notes from around the NCAA tournament and from around college basketball, including a thought on North Carolina, which, as I mentioned, plays tonight. We'll pick that game also later on this hour. Both of the first four games we'll pick coming up at the end of the hour. Spencer and I will play some Random Question Tuesday as well. Later on in the show, we'll get to some Chiefs football, grading the initial 7 moves of free agency for the Chiefs. Spencer and I have given them all letter grades. I have a wider range of grades I am giving. Spencer, a little more condensed, but I think that makes a lot of sense for the moves the Chiefs have made so far. We'll break it all down coming up, leading off the 4 o'clock hour. We've got What Is Wrong With You Today, brought to you by Ryan Mo Winkle, and Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Michael Swain will join us for Jayhawk Weekly. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, all that and a whole lot more coming up today here on 580 Sports Talk. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts on anything we are talking about today. So hit us up on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And you can also drop us a line on YouTube. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. Make sure you subscribe to the channel while you're there, and then you can watch along on the show today. Video streaming the show today, and every single day you can hop into the live comment section as well and enjoy the show that way. I am also just seeing this now on social media. I was just talking about getting out to Lee Arena today. Game sold out. Washburn fans, you have sold out Lee Arena tonight for the Central Region Final. It's Topeka's team. This is the big show in our city right now. You've got a team that is one game from the Elite Eight. So come and enjoy what should be an incredible basketball game between what I think are two of the 3 best teams in the entire country. Winner goes to the Elite Eight in Evansville next week. And again, if you didn't get tickets to this sold-out game, make sure you listen today over on Country 106.9. Yeah, I'm seeing it right in front of me right now. Sold out for Lee Arena. What an environment it is going to be tonight. First time in 24 years. All right, let's get to it. Some Division I NCAA tournament this evening. well, this week anyway, it all begins. What is on the line for the Big 12 teams that made it to the NCAA tournament this year? Specifically, let's start with KU. My question to you, and I have my own answers as well, what, if anything, can KU do that will make you feel differently about this year's Jayhawks in March Madness, in the big dance, in the NCAA tournament? And I think it really is a beauty in the eye of the beholder kind of situation. It's all about what stage of this year's expectations are you following? Because if you believe that the only set of expectations that matters entering the tournament is how we felt about this team or what we expected of this team at the very start of this year, then no. To be blunt, there's probably nothing KU can do in this tournament outside of winning the national championship that is going to make you feel any different about this team, because this team came into the year number one in the nation. They came in with the number one ranking in the Associated Press top 25. How could we feel any different about this group, right? If we went into this season thinking this is a team that can and should win a national championship, and now you're saying, well, they made it to the Sweet 16, that's not good enough, if that's the only set of expectations that you care about. Now, on the flip side, if you're willing to say, I recognize that this team today, this team in the middle approaching the end of March, is not the same team that it was all the way back at the start of November, end of October even, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're talking about how this tournament can change expectations. And I will put the call out to you, KU fans in particular. What would be a successful NCAA tournament to you? I know there are KU fans out there who will say nothing. There is no way this is a successful tournament short of a national championship because of the expectations, because you don't like Hunter Dickinson, or you don't like the other transfers, or you're mad at Bill Self or whatever. There's nothing shy of a national title that will make you feel any better. And if that is the case, frankly, I feel a little disappointed for you, because you could be missing out on a whole lot of fun basketball this year. You could be missing out on a whole lot of fun expectations and the ride and everything that comes with it this year. So I feel like that would be a bit of a letdown. I don't personally feel that way. But I think you have to adapt for what we now know about this team. We thought AJ Storr was going to be a star for this team in November. He's been bad, and it turns out he is not a fit with a Bill Self-coached team. Okay? That's simply what it comes down to, is he's just not a good fit with this program right now, and hasn't been, save for one of the most ridiculous games of the entire season when he scored 19 points out of nowhere against UCF in the second round of the Big 12 tournament. I'm going to ask Michael Swain about that when he joins us for Jayhawk Weekly a little bit later on in the show today. Where the heck did that come from? What the hell is going on with AJ Storr? Because then he followed it up with a big fat goose egg against Arizona in the quarterfinals of the conference tournament. What am I supposed to do with that game from AJ Storr? I assume it's probably nothing, but Michael Swain will give us a clearer answer about that later on. But the guy we thought we were going to see in Storr is not who we have actually seen this year. I think the same can be said on a slightly less severe note about Rylan Griffin. The Rylan Griffin we thought we were getting, that I thought KU was getting, is not the Rylan Griffin that has actually showed up this season. So that's going to change your expectations. DeJuan Harris has not been as good as we originally thought KU was going to need him to be. That changes expectations for this team. KJ Adams is the same guy that he has always been. Maybe there are other pieces that looked great for a while, a la Flory Badunga, and that hasn't quite taken off the way we thought it might take off for this team going forward. So these are all different things that factor in, that change your expectations in March versus where they were at the start of November. I think if this KU team makes it to the second weekend, you have to consider this a win, right? Because Kansas basketball is judged on March. It's judged on winning conference titles too, yes, and winning an Allen Fieldhouse, yes. But when you're talking about the Blue Bloods, when you're talking about the programs that make up the central core of the greatness of college basketball, the teams that are at the very top of the mountain, and Kansas is one of those, it feels really like you were missing something to say they only got to the second weekend, only got to the Sweet 16. And yes, it is impressive to be one of the final 16 teams out of 355, 360 that are in Division I now. That is impressive. That is important. But I understand if you're disappointed saying, God, KU only made it to the second weekend. KU only made it to the Sweet 16. And I think that's going to be difficult to do in the first place if you're KU making it to the Sweet 16. But I am judging it based on this group with the context we have of an entire season, what they are, who they've been. And I think a second weekend would make this year a success because let's be frank, teams that were probably better finished in a worse position the last 2 years. KU was led by a first-team All-American 2 seasons ago in Jalen Wilson. And yeah, that team had the ulterior circumstance that their head coach had a cardiac event and wasn't able to coach in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, that plays a major role, and KU, funny enough, lost to Arkansas that year. That was a better team and ended up with bigger disappointment. Last year, it's hard to say. The Kevin McCullough stuff was so weird and so unorthodox. It's probably hard to say that was a better team. This team has better raw talent. That team probably fit together better, even without having a two guard the entire year and forcing Marco Jackson to play a role that he really wasn't all that comfortable with. But this KU team this year, given, again, all the context, we know now, I would still say second weekend is a win for this KU team. That's where I stand on it. KU fans, I would love to hear from you, see if you feel any differently about this Jayhawks team. So I don't know that KU, there are plenty of people who are going to pick Arkansas to beat KU. I know there are KU fans, and don't lie, because I've seen you on social media for months at this point, who would be amazed if KU beat Arkansas in the first round. So I don't know that KU can lose anything. It's already a disappointment of a year for the Jayhawks. Even just getting to a Sweet 16, given the early season expectations, that's a bit of a disappointment for this year. So I don't know that KU has anything to lose, frankly, but does have a little bit of a positive note, take the sourness out a little bit if KU can get a win. Certainly if KU can get 2 wins, get past St. John's, and make it on to the Sweet 16. I guess it's not a given that St. John's makes it there. I'm going to consider it I'm going to consider St. John's pretty much a lock to get there. From the 785, Brendan, you're being remarkably realistic about the Hawks this season. Yeah, I am. I think I did a good job for myself personally. This is personal adult growth, realizing probably over a month ago now, it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to get mad about this team not being what we expected when I watch every single game and I see that they're just not as good as we thought they were. I thought, and you guys heard me for the last 2 seasons say this group or this team or this starting 5 or whatever is good enough to make a Final Four run. I said that to the bitter end when it was clear that Kevin McCullough was not going to return last season, that I thought KU was good enough for that if fully healthy. Clearly not the case, and also clearly not fully healthy. This team has made it very clear weeks, if not months ago, that they do not have that kind of juice. And I'm not going to get mad. I see so many fans every game. How could this happen? How KJ did this, or how could Storr not do this, or why is Rylan Griffin not consistent? Because that's who they are, guys. Like, I'm not going to get mad about something I know to be a fact. If KU can suddenly find 6 games, 3 weeks worth of consistency and to put together a run, awesome. Great. I'll be thrilled. But we have so much data at this point. Over 30 games worth of data at this point. None of that would lead me to believe that KU can get to a national championship this year, or likely get to a Final Four, or even an Elite 8. I think it's going to be extremely difficult to make it to a Sweet 16. I'm hoping for the best. As a fan and as someone who covers the team, I would love to keep talking about them for several more weeks. I am hoping for the best. I just think these are realistic expectations at this point, given the fact that it's been a disappointment. I don't know of any KU fans that wouldn't tell you that this team has been a disappointment so far this year. What about the rest of the Big 12? The other teams from the conference in the field, you're looking at Iowa State, Texas Tech, Baylor, Arizona, BYU. Who has the most to gain? Who has the most to lose from this year's tournament? I am going to venture and say the team with the most to gain, I think, is BYU. I think BYU already has the number one recruit in the country in AJ Dybansa coming in next season. They've got the money. They've got the NIL. They've clearly developed a positive reputation this year. But I would argue, Spencer, that this team still has the most to gain because while other recruits are going to want to play with AJ Dybansa, while they're probably going to have a strong portal class this year, I would imagine, making a run is going to, convince fans to contribute a little bit more to the NIL, but also you're going to catch the eye of guys in the portal or of future top recruits beyond just AJ Dybansa and beyond just 2025. Say, yeah, we're for real. Look at what we were able to do with maybe 2 pros on our team with this new system and with this new coach and with the money we have. Look at what we were able to do. Come be a part of this. Come help us get to an even higher level. I think a run with a couple of wins for BYU could help them achieve that. They're playing VCU in the opening round. That's a tough 11 seed, probably better than an 11 seed, and then likely getting Wisconsin in the second round if they get there. You win a couple of those games, man. I think BYU is good enough to beat any of the teams in the bottom part of their quadrant. St. Mary's, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Robert Morris. Probably going to be St. Mary's and Alabama facing off in the second round. I think BYU's got enough juice to beat any of those teams. And if you put this team Sweet 16, Elite 8, maybe even beyond that, yeah, there's a lot that I think that program can gain from a big win. Who would you say, Spencer, is the team in this conference that has the most to gain from a positive tournament run?
Well, I was going to say BYU because, look, this is their second March Madness in the Big 12, right? They're still trying to solidify themselves as a Big 12 team. The reason they wanted to join this conference was for basketball, right? Like, that was the main reason I feel like they joined the Big 12. And look, they're showing it. They're showing what they did throughout the season, getting a 6 seed in the NCAA tournament, and they're trying to solidify themselves as a top tier. This is going to be what this expectation is as a Big 12 team every single season. And for them, obviously getting wins, stringing some wins in this tournament is going to be huge. And I think it does start Thursday when they take on VCU.
What about the flip side? If there's one team that has the most to lose from a bad tournament run, and maybe it's KU, I hogged that whole KU conversation. Maybe it is Kansas. Who would be the team with the most to lose if they were to get upset early?
I want to say Iowa State.
That's where I'm leaning.
I just feel like there's been so much in that pot the last few years, like not necessarily money wise, but like the chatter's all been Iowa State, Iowa State, Iowa State. And what are you showing me when it comes time that you really need to show me? Right? Like, what have you done for me lately? What are you showing when you're getting in the big dance? You have to put something up there. Kansas has already showed something in the last few years. They won a national championship just a few years ago.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't think it's Kansas. I think it's Iowa State.
I think to me, it's the matchups as much as anything because, yeah, Michigan State is lingering as the 2. I don't know that I'm as high on Michigan State as a lot of the country is, but you're going to get Lipscomb in the first round. You should win. Ole Miss or a play-in team in the second round, and that would be either Ole Miss or San Diego State or North Carolina. Again, we'll be carrying that first 4 game coming up here today. That's why we're off at 5:30 this afternoon. That's winnable, man. That's winnable. I don't think Michigan State is unbeatable, and even the top part of that bracket I don't think is awful in the grand scheme of things. Now, Auburn's really good. I think Louisville is a crazy 8 seed. But I don't think A&M is that good. Michigan is good but beatable. Like, this is a road that really shapes up for Iowa State. If they get bumped in the first weekend, you've got to have some real questions about this team, right? Like, they made a deep run a year ago, obviously.
Yeah.
But given what this path looks like this year, you've got to, I think, in my opinion, make another decent run to feel like, okay, this is something we can repeat year after year. And that's where the tournament as a crapshoot stuff comes into play, because you can be a really good team and get bounced early. You know, the Kansas team that got knocked out by Ali Farouk-Manesh in Northern Iowa, that was a really good KU team. It was a good year for the program. Team that lost to VCU that eventually Shaka took to the Elite Eight. He is still living on that one team, man.
It really is.
Really is. Well, because you're from that. I mean,
yeah, I remember
VCU's
when
near
that.
the district,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I almost went to VCU.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons watching basketball at VCU was one of the reasons why I even wanted to go to VCU, was because what Shaka Smart was able to do with those teams, and they're a school without football, so it was literally like that was why I was going. That was the big sports attraction was basketball.
Yeah. So his 7 seed Marquette is I don't know that they can beat New Mexico, to be honest. They can, but I don't know that they will beat New Mexico. This is gift wrapped for Iowa State. Michigan State's going to be tough. Ole Miss is not bad by any means, but Iowa State, I think, is a better team than Ole Miss. They've got a good path here. If they can't get in, I would not feel very good. The other teams, honestly, like Texas Tech was way better than I think most people expected them to be this year. And I think they're better than the teams they're going to face first weekend, UNC Wilmington, than either Drake or Missouri. I think Tech should beat both of them. But one way or the other, I think Grant McCaslin's team was better than anyone expected this year. Arizona, as a 4 seed in the East Regional, well, they're in the Duke bracket. And if they get to the Sweet 16 and get to play Duke, that's a win. Because I think Duke is probably your favorite to win the entire thing this year. Baylor, they're a 9. Well, what are the expectations? That you win one game? No one is surprised if they end up losing. So I think pretty clearly Iowa State has the most to lose. And I do think, given the strides BYU has already made, and plus your point about kind of establishing yourself in this new Big 12 as one of the power brokers, I think they've got the most to gain pretty clearly as well.
And I think with the way Kansas is starting to lean, it's like, is Kansas going to be back there, or is somebody else going to establish them, and BYU could be that team?
There you go. We'll talk some more tournament coming up on the other side of this break, and a little bit later on today, we'll get our first 4 picks as well. Also, some Random Question Tuesday and Chiefs talk coming up later on in the show. But first, when we return from this commercial break, we've got another possible shakeup in the coaching circles in the Big 12 coming up. Darian DeVries might be a candidate at Indiana. We'll talk about it next here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:31 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting started today. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. That's Spencer Dupuis. Big day here in the capital city. Ichabod basketball coming up tonight. 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock tip over on Country 106.9. Ichabods versus Dragons of MSU Moorhead. Got the Washburn Blue sport coat on in studio. Got the Aviators. Game day. Hell yeah. From the NCAA Division I ranks, real quick, Texas A&M and North Carolina, not playing each other, obviously, but both had problems getting to their first round games. Are you a believer in travel problems changing who you'll pick for a contest? Like North Carolina got in a few hours late for their game tonight against San Diego State. Does that change your mind who you're picking?
I want to say yes, but I'm almost certain West Virginia had problems getting to Kansas. And what did they do? They upset Kansas.
Yes, they did.
Fieldhouse.
Yes, they did.
Part of me wants to say yes, but then part of me is like, maybe you're just more ready because you're not relaxed.
You're just flying so high with adrenaline and momentum at that point. Honestly, I wouldn't be too worried about it if I was those schools. Now, I don't think Texas A&M is a guarantee to beat Yale. There are a lot of folks who like Yale.
I do think it's funny that UNC also had travel problems. I just think it's ironic.
Since they already shouldn't have been in the tournament, like God telling them something. No, that's a pretty funny point, actually. Also, I do want to make a note about this regarding North Carolina. I heard John Rothstein on Pardon My Take say this. I think he's totally right about it. Just because North Carolina did not get in doesn't mean that if they win a game or two games, it's like, how is this even possible? Like, yeah, I mean, it's still North Carolina. And people will, North Carolina fans in particular, ACC people in particular, will argue, oh, well, North Carolina won a game, so clearly they deserve to be in. No, that's not how this works, guys. Your resume and reputation should matter more than using a postseason game to look back on an earlier part of the season and say, oh, yeah, it's justified now. No, that's not true. That's like saying if KU, Spencer, wins 2 games, well, they didn't deserve a 7 seed. Wrong. This KU team absolutely deserves a 7 seed. Absolutely. Or K-State goes on a run in the NIT, or, well, they're not playing postseason, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Okay, Boise State makes a run in the Crown, right? Oh, they should have been in the tournament. No, the resume stunk. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
That's not how this is supposed to go. So, one note about North Carolina, the Tar Heels absolutely could beat San Diego State tonight. That is absolutely within the realm of possibility. That doesn't necessarily mean suddenly, oh, yeah, they for sure should have been in. No, that's not how that works. The other note from the Big 12 today, we talked about Darian DeVries, the head coach at West Virginia yesterday, reportedly having an interview at Iowa.
And from what I heard from Pete Thamel, the guy now for basketball, apparently he was a college football guy, now he's a basketball guy, he doesn't want Iowa.
Interesting.
He didn't want Iowa.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Is he an Iowa guy? I mean, I know he was at Drake. Is he an Iowa guy?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I only know, I know the dude can coach, and I know his kid is a heck of a player and was hurt all year. So I don't know about that. Now, if Indiana came calling, Indiana obviously more pressure than Iowa, but more high profile than Iowa too. That was Jeff Goodman who reported that earlier today, that Darian DeVries is emerging as one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to get the Indiana job. Ben McCollum at Drake, also in the running, and then a mystery coach.
I love Wikipedia. They already have him as the head coach in Indiana.
Really?
Somebody went in there and changed it, and nobody's, fact checked him yet.
Interesting. Yeah, he
is from Iowa, though.
Okay, he's an
Iowa
guy. He
went to Northern Iowa.
I mean, if you're Iowa, you have to be blowing up Ben McCollum's phone, right? Because he's an Iowa guy too.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to be blowing his phone up. I know it was only 1 year at Drake, but guys, I'm not telling you guys anything new because we follow Washburn or D2 or the MIAA or whatever. Like, everyone around here knows who Ben McCollum is and know how good he is at his job.
Well, to me, I'm looking at Ben McCollum. Could do the exact same thing that Kim Caldwell did in women's basketball, going from D2, powerhouse in D2, going to a mid-major D1, taking them to the tournament, and next year going to a major college basketball program.
And she had success at Tennessee right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would not be shocked at all if McCollum decided to go to Iowa. I would not be one bit shocked. I mean,
The
they
thing
should
too
be
is you got to go while the iron's hot.
Right. Oh,
like,
without question.
There will be down years. Like, that just happens. Like, there's no way you're going to win every year. Right? There's going to be some years where you can't get over a hump.
I have been told that, and I'm not the only person who's been told this. I think most people could probably guess this at this point. When McCollum was at Northwest Missouri State, he got multiple offers to go to D1 schools, but turned them down waiting for a better opportunity. Well, Drake is a better opportunity than, a bunch of low major D1s without question. Would he jump right away? I know he's a program guy. I don't know. If I'm Iowa, my list is one guy, and I'm doing whatever I can to get him in the door. I'm the one guy list if I'm Iowa, but we'll see if that actually ends up happening. We owe you a commercial break. On the other side of this timeout, a little random question Tuesday. We've got some games to pick later in the hour as well. That's coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, 580 Sports Talk continuing on here. Brendan Brzezinski, Spencer Dupuis with you in studio. Dan Lucero on vacation this week. All right, I've got a couple for today. Number one, both tournament or basketball adjacent. I guess could be football for one of them. What is your favorite memory of watching the NCAA tournament?
Oh, this is easy.
Okay.
It actually just came up on my memories on Snapchat.
Okay.
I think yesterday or the day before. 2018. Marshall beating Wichita State.
There you go.
something that I had never witnessed, something that hadn't happened in the 1988, I think, since I'd won an NCAA tournament game, which
wow.
I think technically got taken away because Marshall had a scandal back then.
Who was the star player for that team?
John Elmore.
John Elmore. Yeah. I remember Dan and I watched that game on one of our computers in the media room in Wichita. I remember watching it. And yeah, I mean, because Dan covered Wichita State obviously for a long time. We were watching any games we could. And yeah, I remember watching that one sitting in the media room down at Intrust. Mine, I've shared this story probably every year, but it's my favorite story to share. Being in high school, and it was my last class of the day. It was my French class, and we were in the computer lab. I think it was even a Friday. I don't remember if it was Thursday or Friday. But we're in the computer lab, and we were supposed to be doing this preparation. We had an oral exam, whatever, language classes, and our teacher was pulling us one by one to go, do the exam or whatever. Not everyone was going to go that day. And while we weren't doing the actual test, we were supposed to be studying, using these computer programs, whatever. Well, I certainly was not interested in doing that. It was my sophomore year, and my buddies and I in class, including my best friend, we just went online and we watched tournament games. We pulled up CBS Tournament Central, whatever. We're watching games. And it was the year that I believe it was Morehead State upset Louisville, 13-4. And we're going crazy. We're freaking out. We're not even pretending to be doing classwork. And our teacher comes up behind us. Class is about to end right as the game is ending. And he goes, guys, you're supposed to be studying. Like, I understand basketball's on, but you're in class. You're supposed to be paying attention. And we say, Sam, or Monsieur Robinson, Sam, Louisville is about to get upset. Morehead might pull this off. And he just, eyes pop out of his head. Whole face goes white. And he goes, oh my God, I have Louisville winning in my bracket. And he pulls up a chair and sits down with us to watch the end of the game before the bell rings. It was awesome. My favorite memory from growing up watching it, because everybody gets into it. That's the beauty of the NCAA tournament. Everybody gets into it. And I love that so much. It's such a unifying event.
Oh, yeah.
Even my pissed off French teacher could enjoy it.
I remember high school all the time. So that was right when the big, where you could stream every game. Mm-hmm. Right when I was in the thick of high school, It was like, and then they had that button where you could
pops up a spreadsheet.
Yeah, yep. That was the best thing. I use that in class, in study hall all the time.
Jayhawker's got a good answer, by the way. Obviously, KU fan. 1988, 2008, 2022. Yep. All very good answers for favorite times watching the tournament. All right, Spencer, what you got for us?
It's also tournament-esque. What was the longest one of your brackets had ever gone perfect?
Oh, geez. I think it would have been 2008. So my best friends and I have been doing a pool since the 2007 tournament, which in retrospect should what would we have been? Should sixth graders have been gambling? No, probably not. But we did. And we were picking games as early as sixth grade. We did every year. In 2007, 2008, I was in seventh grade. KU won the national championship that year. I won our pool because I picked KU every single year, I think, from 2007 until last year. I think last year was the first time in my whole life I didn't pick KU to win the championship in my bracket pool. And I won that year. If I remember correctly, I won by a lot. I got 25 of the first 32 games correct or something. I had a really good first round. And still, you missed 7 times in those first 32 games. But yeah, I feel like I that year got almost the entire first day into the second day right. That's the closest I've been to having any sort of remarkable bracket, though.
Yeah, I had to pull up the years I was trying to think of it. I guess it would be 2019. The 2018-19 tournament, I got all the way to the Elite Eight. But going back, a lot of it was chalk.
Well, yeah. When you get a bunch of favorites, yeah, you end up with brackets.
But I lucked out like that. I just didn't pick very many upsets. I was like, there's not going to be a lot of upsets. The one that I can't believe I picked, and I remember this, I cannot believe I picked Murray State upsetting Marquette correctly, because I didn't think Murray State was that good.
I remember that one.
But I did for some reason, and they won by 19 over Marquette in the 12-5.
And that was 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one as well because that was John Morant. That was John Morant's Murray State team.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that from Salt Lake City and saying, yeah, I did pick that one because I knew that Murray State team was really good. All right, one more for you here. What is, and maybe it's that one, what is your favorite upset you've ever picked that ended up being right?
UMBC.
You picked UMBC?
Yeah. I had almost everything else in that bracket wrong, but I picked UMBC over Virginia. It was Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How close to UMBC? Well, you're from Virginia, not Maryland.
Yeah.
How close to you was UMBC?
Hour 50, 2 hours 30, max, somewhere between there.
Okay. All right. Mine, that Murray State over Marquette one was a good one. I had Morehead State over Louisville that year. That was a good one. I would probably go, though, with Georgia State over Baylor, and which maybe my favorite non-KU highlight ever, which is R.J. Hunter with his dad, Ron, on the bench. He was hurt. He was sitting on that rolling stool, and R.J. hits the three. Was it Spanarkel on the call, or was it Steve Lapis? It was one of them. Oh, my gosh. That's one of my favorite shots ever. Hunter from the top of the circle. Oh, that was great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Were those long, baggy shorts? Oh, yeah.
Obviously, for me, an upset would have been that Marshall Wichita State. Like,
yeah,
that was an upset by
seed, yeah.
I just remember from the hash, Carter. I can't believe it.
We've got one here from the 785 on the text line. What's your favorite upset pick for this year? We got to a couple of these on yesterday's show. There's a number of them that I like this year. Remind us, Spencer, who was your pick yesterday, your favorite upset?
I got to look up my bracket here.
I think the one I'm going to lean with is High Point over Purdue, the 13 over the 4. High Point's got a rim protecting presence, like a 4 versus 13. Purdue's got a first-team All-American in Braden Smith, and High Point is making its first ever NCAA tournament. You would expect the spread to be bigger than 8.5 points. I think High Point's got a real chance to knock off Purdue. A Purdue team that, historically speaking, not always great in the first round. So I'm going to go with High Point as my favorite. I like McNeese over Clemson in that one too. And I like Colorado State over Memphis. Colorado State with Neat Clifford. Neat Clifford is going to be a star in March. That dude has all the makings of a March Madness hero. So those would be my favorites this year. I know I gave you 3, but those are the ones that stand out to me.
Mine was Drake over Mizzou.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, man. If Missouri can dictate the pace, they're going to win and probably win handily. If Drake dictates the pace, I think Drake wins that game.
And I like how, like, there's not a lot, like, while we're talking about it, it's not heavily buzzed up about McCollum.
No, it feels
like it's not like the whole world is not talking about him moving to a major college basketball head coaching position.
I am so
if there was talk, like so much talk about that, I think that would be a distraction for them. But I just don't see there being that much talk right now. So I don't think it's a distraction.
Similar vein. All right, last one. Then we got to get to a commercial break here. Which 8-9 game is the most interesting to you? So you've got Louisville, Creighton, Mississippi State, Baylor, Gonzaga, Georgia, or UConn, Oklahoma. Which of those games is the most interesting to you?
I want to say UConn, Oklahoma.
I think that is an interesting one. I still don't really know how good OU is.
Yeah.
And UConn's like UConn should win, right?
I mean, you have to put some respect on it because they're the reigning national champions. Right. But that's to me, or it's Louisville, Creighton.
I'm going with Louisville, Creighton because I think Creighton can win. I mean, they're old. Ryan Kalkbrenner, old. Stephen Ashworth, old. I think Greg McDermott is a really good coach. I also think Louisville is heavily underseeded. I think that should have been a 6, maybe. I know the ACC sucked this year. I get that. There was not a single game in the ACC this year. I don't know if you heard the stat, Spencer, that never in conference play did 2 ranked teams go head-to-head. That's nuts. That is truly, genuinely crazy. There was no ranked versus ranked game all season long in the ACC. I still think Louisville is underseeded here. I would pick the Cardinals to win in the Battle of the Birds. I think that one's really interesting, though. I think that's going to be a fun one. That's coming up on Thursday. That's an early tip. That might be the earliest tip of the day.
Is that 11:15? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first game of the day. First game of the main bracket of the tournament.
That's when you have to have your brackets in on our bracket challenge.
Yes, got to have them in by 11:15. Have you shared the link again?
No, but I will.
Okay, we're going to share the link. If you did not sign up yet for our 580 Sports Talk Bracket Challenge, we're going to pin the link on the YouTube stream in the comment section. It'll be right at the top. We'll get that here in the next couple minutes. You can also find it. We tweeted it out from the 580 Sports Talk Twitter account. Did it get out on Blue Sky? I don't know if it did.
It did not.
Okay. We'll see if Dan can get that up there. But we'll share it around. We'd love for you guys to participate. No buy-in. It's bragging rights. Can you beat myself and Spencer and Dan? It's on ESPN. We'll get that link out to you here soon. We owe you that commercial break, as mentioned before. We will pick the first 4 games tonight, a 16 seeds matchup, an 11 seeds matchup. We'll pick those games next on 580 Sports Talk. All right, final 2 minutes here of 580 Sports Talk in this 3 o'clock hour. Back in the 4 o'clock hour with What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain is going to join us. We'll talk some Chiefs. If you were watching on the YouTube video, you saw me spill water all over the desk in the studio right as we went to commercial. And it's a really good thing the mics were off because I cursed loudly.
I was gonna leave that and let that not have happened.
It's everywhere, man. There's crap everywhere. All right, let's get to it. Our first 4 picks for today. 2 games coming up tonight. You'll be able to hear both of them right here on 580 WIBW. Number 1, St. Francis of Pennsylvania taking on Alabama State from the SWAC. Spencer, who you got? Alabama State favored by 4.
I know people that went to St. Francis.
Okay.
So part of me wants to pick them, but I think Alabama State's going to win.
I am going to go with Alabama State. These are the 2 lowest ranked teams in KenPom that are in the field for the NCAA tournament this year. Alabama State 273, St. Francis 311. St. Francis is also they have a losing record on the season. I'm going to go with Alabama State in this one. Real quick, North Carolina versus San Diego State. Who you got?
North Carolina.
I would rather see SDSU win, but I think I'm going to base this on the narrative. I'm going to be like the committee and make my pick based entirely on narrative here. It just feels right, if not wrong, that after all this talk that they suck, they shouldn't be in, that they'll actually end up winning their first tournament game. We'll get to a break for the news. When we come back, we're grading the Chiefs' offseason moves to lead off the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis here with you. Washburn Blue, sport coat on, aviators on. It's game day for Ichabod basketball tonight. Regional final. A berth in the Elite Eight is on the line. Number 1 seed Washburn, number 2 seed MSU Moorhead. Yours truly will be on the call this evening over on Country 106.9. Pregame at about 6:45. Tip-off at about 7 o'clock from Lee Arena. Final game in the old Lee Arena, if you will. It's going to be remodeled, rehabbed, refurbished coming up this offseason. Some new look, some new paint, some adjustments at Lee Arena this year.
I bet they were maybe expecting to start that process a little bit earlier, but unfortunately, for a good reason, they couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the timeline was going to look like, but yeah, I was told, and I don't know the damn thing, honestly, but I was told that after the season ended and we were done with home games, it would be refurbishing time, updating time, if you will. Clearly, that was not at the end of February. It is now nearer to the end of March. March 18th. It's the biggest game for Washburn basketball in 24 years. 2001 was the last time Washburn hosted a regional. It's the last time Washburn got beyond the regional weekend. Washburn played for the national championship that year, in fact, under Coach Chipman. Big game tonight. Hope you'll join us over on Country 106.9 if you are not in attendance at the game. Our guy MPM in the YouTube comments, he said earlier that he's not going to be there tonight, but should Washburn win, he'll be in Evansville with the Ichabods.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Where is the Elite Eight?
Evansville, Indiana, the Ford Center. About 7 hours, 20 minutes or so. I think last time I checked the Google Maps, only 7 hours, 22 minutes.
You got lucky because I saw for the sportscast that we air on the Kansas Information Network, I was reporting on Pitt State women. Do you know where they have to go?
They have to go to
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I saw someone say, man, how cool for Pittsburgh. If they win their regional for the women, they get to host for the Elite Eight. No. Wrong Pittsburgh.
Yeah. No. There's an H at the end of that.
Yeah. They're going to the other Pittsburgh. I think they're hosting at Duquesne's Arena.
I believe so. Yeah.
I believe that's where they are headed.
UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse.
There you go. Look at you. The research. Excellently done.
Yeah, that's Division II basketball.
There you go. About 7.5 hours to get from the Huntoon Hill Studios here at Alpha Media Topeka to the Ford Center in Evansville.
That is way better than the 20 hours it would probably take you to get to Pittsburgh.
Although, so I didn't know the distances. The women's teams, so the Pitt State women, for example, they will get to fly.
Yeah.
They'll get comp or help with flying to Pittsburgh, PA. You have to be 600 miles away. Washburn is about 480 miles from Evansville.
Darn.
Not far enough.
I remember when Shepherd in football played Colorado School of Mines in that semifinal, I think it was in 2023.
Whatever that. Yeah, I think it would have been the semis.
They flew, and it was like the biggest thing ever.
That they got to fly all the way there. They play in Golden, right?
Yeah.
Or they played the game in Golden, not in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Was it in Martinsburg? Is that where Shepherd is, or is it in an outlying town?
Shepherdstown.
Oh, Shepherd. Okay, well, fitting.
Shepherdstown is like basically right next to, it's like Shepherdstown here, Potomac River's here, and Harper's Ferry's here.
Okay.
Historical speaking.
Okay. Yes. Harper's Ferry, relevant to us out here. We know about Harper's Ferry. Shout out John Brown. But yeah, no, it's all on the line tonight. Can't think about getting to Evansville yet if you don't win tonight and beat the Dragons of MSU Moorhead. I'm going to tell you what, man, we're going to get to this a little bit later on in the show today. It has been awesome all season. All the folks who have talked about, like, come up to me, whether they know who I am or not. I'm nobody. Let's be real. I'm not anybody special. But, if it's fans at Lee Arena or, parents of players or fans who have traveled for games around the MIAA or, just people in public talking about this team and how cool it's been, how good they are, the way they play, the way that they do things the right way. It's just been so cool all year long. And the buzz about this tournament and this game tonight, nothing has compared locally in my time in Topeka, which is, better part of a decade at this point. So fired up about it tonight. Hope you'll join us over on Country 106.9 if you won't be at Lee Arena this evening.
Unfortunately, if you don't have your tickets, according to WIBW TV, it is sold out.
So Washburn published that as well, that the game is sold out. They did open, I did see this, they opened 300 more tickets. So if you haven't gotten in yet, go online right now. Go get your tickets if you want to go. It's going to be crazy in there tonight. Absolutely bananas. Can't wait for it. I'm out of here at 5 o'clock. I got to go get set up. Got to, shake hands, kiss babies, whatever. So I will be out of here at 5 o'clock.
Rest the pipes a little bit.
What?
Rest the pipes a little bit.
Yes. Buddy, let me tell you.
Those 2 hours are going to be crucial.
Yesterday was rough. This morning was rough. I have been pounding the H2O today. Spencer hooked me up with some, lemon honey cough drops, which helped quite a bit. Appreciate that with the assist. So we're going to rest the voice a little bit, get to the game tonight, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited for these guys who've busted their ass all year to get to this point. I know they want to accomplish a whole lot more, so that's coming up tonight at 7 o'clock.
That's a good point Jayhawker brings up in the chat. Where are these extra tickets coming from?
Look, man, I don't question. I have no idea.
Are they going to put like a standing room only in one corner of the arena?
They're going to put you with me. That's a joke. They're not going to sit you with me. So don't think that they are. Again, I'm nobody. I'm just there with a microphone, man. I'm nothing special, but I am excited about it. It's gonna be fun tonight. There's no doubt about that. All right, coming up this hour, we'll get one final thought on that game coming up before I leave, right before 5 o'clock. Michael Swain is going to join us for Jayhawk Weekly, bottom of this hour. We've got What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Ryan Mo Winkle, and Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Our current winner after yesterday, the Sweet 16, woman who was fleeing deputies while she had been smoking some meth, was fleeing from the cops, and was charged with driving on a revoked license. It's been revoked for 16 years, 2009. But we're going to start things off, Spencer, with some Chiefs football.
Yes.
We are now, this is day 7 of the new league year. And some moves are still being made. There could still be some trades to go, but most of the big names who are going to sign, guys who are out there, have signed now. So the bulk of the Chiefs free agent and acquisition class has been done. I've got the list of the 7 guys, and we're not talking futures deals or real minor stuff here. The 7 guys who have signed or re-signed with the team. We have assigned letter grades to all of them. Let's start biggest deal and earliest deal to the guys who have re-signed in the last couple of days. Let's start with Jalen Moore, the offensive tackle. You are more glowing about this addition than I am.
Just a little bit.
I have my reasoning for it. You went with a B-. Why a B- for the Jalen Moore signing?
I think he got to learn behind one of the greatest left tackles in the NFL history. And I think
Trent Williams,
yes. When he was in San Francisco. And I don't think the deal is significant enough there wasn't a lot of great left tackles out there, right?
Especially when Stanley re-signed in Baltimore.
Yeah, like it wasn't a Stanley contract, but it was obviously like, we're going to make you the starter contract. I think that there's more upside, but it's a little questionable. And I'm going on the side of the upside here. And that's why I gave a B-. I was teetering between a C+ and a B-. And
it is affordable. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So I went with a C. I didn't want to be the annoying guy that makes the rules for the game and then immediately breaks the rules. I wanted to give this an incomplete. He started 12 games.
That's the unknown.
It is an unknown. I don't think he was the best tackle available, but many of the best tackles didn't even make it to the market. Alaric Jackson, Ronnie Stanley, etc. So you were kind of, you were fishing around in the shallow end, but you never really had a chance to get to the deep end or the slightly less shallow end anyway. He doesn't have a lot of experience. We've heard from Mitchell Schwartz, former Chiefs right tackle, all-pro right tackle, that the Chiefs are super hyper specific about what they want from their offensive linemen, what Andy Heck wants, what Andy Reid wants. It's hard to find those guys. They clearly like something about him. I gave it a C. They had to fill the position. They didn't spend a lot of money on it. I don't know that I love the player, but really I'd rather give this an incomplete. I don't know. I don't know what it is the Chiefs see in him in particular, and I don't mean that as a criticism. I just genuinely mean I wonder what it is about his skill set that the Chiefs think can make him a starting left tackle in this league on a full-time basis.
I think there could have been worse additions.
Sure.
Like there's a lot more players out there that are career backup guys that you could have picked, but you picked a guy who's still a little bit younger, who's learned from a best, but again, you had to give some kind of grade. So
right.
I teetered on the side of there could be some excitement here.
All right, so let's get to the other day one addition the Chiefs made. Elijah Mitchell at running back. I went C+ here. Like, it's fine. It's a 1 year, $3.5 million deal. I'm sure a lot of that is incentive based as well. The cap hit, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's minuscule.
And I think Verderam last week said, I think it's depending on what he had heard, he could even be cut in training camp and it wouldn't do anything.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is not a huge deal one way or the other. I probably would have rather just kept Samaje Perine, to be honest with you.
I think his cost may be going up.
Yeah. I mean, because what that much, what did he end up signing for? Like 1 year, 2.4 million, 2 years, 3.6 million. That's what he ended up signing with.
Yeah.
We don't know what the guarantee is. Base salary, 1.4 million with the Bengals over 2 years. I would have done that. Even if the Elijah Mitchell deal is not terrible. And in terms of athletic ability, Mitchell's probably a better player. You've got a higher upside because of the speed factor. But again, it's just a guy who's barely played. He's been hurt all the time. So I went C+. It's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah. I went B because...
Is it again the upside?
It's the upside here, and it's like, well, if not, then he's not making the roster. So
yeah, very, very, very low risk.
It's not like they spent a lot of money, and it's not like there's a lot riding on him, because the odds is they are going to draft somebody.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and we will get to another running back in a moment that I feel much more negatively about, because we're going in chronological order here. All right. This is my favorite signing the Chiefs have gone with. We're both pretty high on this one. Me, even a little bit higher than you. Christian Fulton at cornerback. 2 years, $20 million. I think it was 15 guaranteed. I believe that's the number. I love this signing. I think Fulton is a good player. I don't think he's a great player. The Chiefs don't need a great player, though. You know what the Chiefs can do? Coach up anybody, because Dave Merritt is a stud. One of the best defensive backs coaches in the league. This reminds me of going out and getting Bashaud Breeland a couple years ago, who ended up being a huge contributor to a Super Bowl team and a really good player for a couple of years, even if it kind of weird off the field. That was a good ad. I think this Christian Fulton deal, same kind of vein. What do the Chiefs love to do? What does Brett Veach love to do? Sign guys for low, buy low on guys who had a draft pedigree. Now, Fulton is not quite to the degree of a Darren Lee or, some of these other guys who the Chiefs have taken swings on who were former first-round picks. Lee didn't work out. He just stunk. But former second-round pick, I remember doing a ton of draft scouting when he came out in 2020. I was deep in the you-know-what with draft coverage at the time. And I remember liking Christian Fulton. I thought late first, early second is where he would go. He slid all the way to the 61st overall pick. So that was the fourth to last pick of the second round that year. He was okay in Tennessee. He wasn't great. He probably was never going to be a number one, a true number one, but could thrive as a number two. That's what he did for the Chargers this year. He had a really nice bounce back year in his one season in LA. I love this move. I really, really do. I think this is going to be your starting number two outside corner. You're going to probably then put Jalen Watson at another outside corner, and you're going to have Trent McDuffie start at your slot / inside / star, whatever you want to call that, with the flexibility to kick him to the outside as well. I think this adds flexibility to the Chiefs. I like the talent level. I like that there's still a little bit of upside to get there. I gave this one an A-. I thought this was a stellar signing by the Chiefs.
Yeah, I thought it was a good signing. I just think I'm still kind of iffy. Like, I mean, I'm basically right where you are. I'm not an A yet. Let me see what he can do on the field, and then maybe that changes my mind.
See if that bounce back was just a dead cat bounce, or if it was actually the sign of something real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, and I understand it. He's still young. He's 26. He will turn 27 just before the start of the season, September 3rd. Not quite September 2nd. That really would have sold me, but that's fine. I like this move. I think this was the right combination of depth and versatility and a guy who can start for you, and I think he will. Next, backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew. What'd you give Gardner Minshew as the Chiefs' new QB2?
B+. I think he's better than Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of other QB2 options out there that don't command a lot of money. Like, I think Mariota's a nice option. The Commander, he went back to Commanders.
That's a good,
which is good for him.
Yeah.
Like, I think that whole thing of mentoring Jaden Daniels and being okay being number 2 after everything that happened, everybody saw on the quarterbacks documentary. Like, I think that when you have Gardner Minshew, he's a guy that started. I mean, he has a whole cult following. Carson Wentz is just Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz was trying to rehab his career. I think Gardner Minshew at this point knows he's only going to be QB2.
And
I think if you come to Kansas City, you've almost certainly gotten yourself to be QB2 because you know you're going to maybe get in one game, right? Maybe one game, 2 games, if that, and you're going to relieve Patrick maybe if he gets hurt, but he doesn't stay hurt. So if you're going somewhere for opportunities, it wouldn't be Kansas City.
So to that point, what I'm looking for in a Chiefs backup quarterback is if you had to start 2 games, if Mahomes has a concussion, he rolls his ankle, high ankle sprain, whatever, we know that he gets back from injury quickly.
Yes.
If you needed a guy to start 2 games, are you comfortable? Do you think you can go 2-0 or even a respectable 1-1 with the guy you're bringing in at quarterback?
Exactly.
I don't know that the Chiefs could have done that with Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. I didn't like it last year. I didn't really know what they were doing.
And I understood
as a guy that had to watch Carson Wentz.
Yeah, right. Well, you had the experience when he was in Washington. I thought it was fine at the time. It was not quite what the Chiefs like to do. Like, Matt Moore was going to be safe. He was going to call the plays outright. He was going to make the right throw. He wasn't going to take risks. Same thing with Chad Henne. Although there were some moments in the Henne thing as possible game where he did take some risks.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew can create a little bit, but, I mean, think back to where he had his success in college, right? His final year as a grad transfer going to Washington State, playing for Mike Leach, where your quarterback is going to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. He's not going to make mistakes. He's going to get the ball to the right spot, and that's where you're going to find success. I think if you had to start 2 games with Gardner Minshew or he had to come in to finish a game, you could trust him to make the right call, to operate within system. Gardner, we don't need you or want you to create. You just need to do the smart thing. That's all we need from you. I liked that deal.
I mean, look, he's coming off 2 seasons ago. He threw 3,300 plus yards.
Yeah, with the Colts. Yeah. Which really sold me on Shane Steichen.
7-6 record, above 500. He went to Vegas and had to deal with Vegas.
Right.
And had to start 9 games and played in 10 games, and they don't have a good roster.
Let's get to these other 3 moves here really quickly before we get to a break. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for what is wrong with you here and Michael Swain, because we got lots to talk about with Swain today. Jerry Tillery, the only other big newcomer to be added here. I went B-. I like the depth. The talent is fine. The only reason I didn't go higher than a B- is, as far as I am aware, what I have read, what I have heard, everyone hates the guy. Like, he's a bad locker room guy. But the Chiefs are willing to take that on because you have one of the strongest locker rooms in the league. So you can take on a guy like that and not have it be a big deal. I think he's might be kind of a turd from what I've heard around just my reading. I haven't gotten sources, just reading around the league. So I gave it a B-, but as depth, I like it.
So to me, he's younger, right? Than a lot than the depth that their defensive tackles were going. And now I can't think of the guy's name. Is it Mike Dana or who's gone?
Turk.
No.
Turk Wharton, Derek Nottie.
Derek Nottie.
Yeah.
Nottie's gone.
Mike Pennell unsigned still.
Yeah.
Nottie signed with the Jets the other day. Yeah.
So I think I'd rather have Nottie than him, but he's a decent option.
See, I'd rather have Tillery than Nottie. Nottie at his start, those first 3 seasons, yes. The last 2, no. He just fell off, but he knew the system and all that. Tillery's going to turn 29 in October for 1 year. Yeah, that's a fine depth piece. No problem with that. Real quick, before we get to Kareem Hunt, Juju, I went C. It's fine. He's going to be your 4th or 5th wide receiver. It's fine.
Yeah, I went C+. I mean, I think he is what he is at this point in his career. And guess what? He can be big in moments if you need him.
Kareem Hunt also resigned. I gave this a D. I don't like it. Kareem Hunt did fine for what the Chiefs needed him to do last year. If you were asking me to grade Kareem Hunt for 2024, I might give you a B for what they asked him to do. You need to ask for more from your running back room. He was one of the least explosive running backs in terms of explosion rate, yards after contact, all of that in the entire NFL. Now you've got a running back room that suddenly is crowded with Mitchell and Hunt, and you throw in Isaiah Pacheco. Carson Steele is still around. Somebody's going to get cut, and that's fine. And that's why it's a D, but I'm not super mad about it. I just don't think that's a player you really want to have lingering around. I think they should draft an explosive back and follow that for the rest of the running backs room.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a C, but I agree with you. I think ideally I'd like them to have I'd like them to get out of Pacheco contract. I think he's just gone downhill.
He's going to get this year, and they won't resign.
Yeah,
that's pretty obvious, I think, at this point. All right, those are our Chiefs offseason grades so far. We'll come on back from this commercial break. We'll play some What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Ryan Mo Winkle, and then we'll hear from Michael Swain for Jayhawk Weekly. All coming up this hour on 580 Sports Talk. Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Spencer with you today. 2 new stories, all brought to you by our guy Ryan Mowinkle and Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services. Go give him a shout. Check him out online, ryanmowinkle.com. I had a really fun time talking to Mo because he's got Washburn, KU, and K-State ties.
Oh, wow.
So there's always some sort of connection, always some sort of excitement. I know he's fired up about tonight. Should have asked. I got to reach out to him, ask who he's picking in the tournament, or at least how far he's picking KU to go in the tournament. Do you know any people who aren't bracket people? Like, they don't like picking a bracket?
No, I don't.
I think it's crazy. People are like, I'd rather just watch. What?
I mean, I know a ton of people that do it, and they just don't watch a lot of college basketball, but they think it's fun to see, like, like, I don't watch a lot of college basketball. I watch SportsCenter sometimes. Let's see how accurate I can be. I know I'm not going to be very accurate because nobody, like, the odds of people getting a perfect bracket are slim to, like,
minuscule.
Yeah. Right. So, like, it's just the fun of it.
No, I'm right there with you. All right, we've got to go quickly here because we've got a lot to get to with Michael Swain. So let's dive in. Our winner for the week so far, the woman who smoked meth, then ran away from the cops in her car on a license that has been revoked for 16 years. We call it the Sweet 16. Spencer, why don't you jump in with yours?
All right. A 34-year-old man in Florida pulled a gun at a bar this weekend after getting upset that the karaoke machine wasn't working.
All right.
A Florida man's frustration over a malfunctioning karaoke machine escalated into gunfire early Saturday morning at the Overtime Sports Bar in Clearwater, according to police. Authorities say the suspect, Aaron Jablonski, 34, brandished a firearm and fired a shot outside the bar after being denied the chance to sing. The incident unfolded around 2:30 a.m. when he was visibly upset upon discovering karaoke was unavailable. After leaving the bar in frustration, a 26-year-old patron attempted to defuse the situation, urging him to calm down. Instead, police alleged he pulled out a Glock 9mm from his waistband, pointed it at the man, and declared, "I don't bleeping care." Witnesses reported seeing him fire a round into the air. Law enforcement officers arrived at the scene and found him still in possession of the handgun. Given his criminal history, he was legally barred from owning a firearm. Records show he has prior convictions for battery on a law enforcement officer, DUI, disorderly conduct, theft, resisting arrest with violence, and probation violations. He was arrested on felony charge of aggravated assault, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He remains in county jail on a $40,000 bond. A judge has ordered him to stay away from Overtime Sports Bar and have no contact with the victim. The victim, a passionate karaoke performer, told police he feared for his life during the encounter. Authorities continued to investigate the incident while emphasizing the dangers of mixing firearms with alcohol-fueled disputes.
Yeah, I'll say good. All right, I think that one's going to get the win today in all likelihood. My story is going to take us to Washington, D.C. Our second story here on What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Ryan Mowinkle, where a postal worker was found guilty last week of stealing more than $1.6 million worth of U.S. Treasury and private party checks from the mail in order to fund a lavish lifestyle. The 44-year-old man did this over the course of 4 different years. He stole $1.6 million in checks out of the mail. What was he using this money mostly for, Spencer? Also committing fraud and lying about his citizenship. He lied to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services about having committed crimes in his past. He said he hadn't. What did he use this money for? Going to strip clubs.
Wow.
Buying alcohol and going to strip clubs. Can't do that. That's not nearly as intense as the guy fired off a shot because the karaoke machine didn't work. I'm picking that one to win today, and Spencer, I'm picking that one to win the week.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you.
That is ridiculous, man. Go to another bar. Get an Uber, go
find
to another bar.
one.
Come on, man. That's our new winner for the week in What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Ryan Mowinkle and Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services. Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain's up next on 580 Sports Talk. 24/7 across your favorite social media channels as well. Michael, let's dive right on into the bracket. Before we get to the seed, before we get to the draw, what would be the one word or the one phrase you would use to describe this KU team as it enters the NCAA tournament this year?
I think inconsistent, right? If you go back to, even the start of the season, KU just has been an inconsistent team, and that has been a really common theme throughout the course of the year, right? You think about the Arkansas game to start the year, KU gets blown out. You think about them then going on a really good run, wins over Duke, Carolina, Michigan State, right? All tournament teams. And so then all of a sudden you look now at what the last 2 months have been, and it's very inconsistent basketball. And I think even KU's performances in Kansas City just showed how inconsistent they are, right? One night it's, you almost lose to UCF, a team that's really struggled. And then you also go and play an Arizona team close that ends up making the title game. So I think KU almost plays to the level of its opponents sometimes. And I think, at least in the NCAA tournament, that's something where you can kind of get away with it sometimes, but also I think it can be a huge detriment if you're not totally focused.
So with the full body of work then in mind, and especially the end of the season in mind, because we know for better or for worse, the selection committee is going to put a lot of weight on that. Do you feel like a 7 seed was the right call for this KU team?
I think it's about right. I think if you were to say, hey, in all fairness, if you want to take the full body of work, what is this team? I'd say probably a 6 seed, but if and you're right, like, how do you finish the season? That is why Arkansas is in the NCAA tournament, right? Because of how they finished the season. And so I think you have to take that into account. And you can't also go back to November and say Kansas is the same team that beat Duke, right? It's not. And things change and teams get better and teams don't. I think for KU, I think landing in a 7 seed based on what they showed over the last month, I think is fair. I think, you could make an argument that maybe even an 8 seed would have been more fitting if you're just looking at the last 2 months. But of course you do also have a full resume to take into account. So I think for KU, like 7 at the end of the day, I think it's fair for what they've shown this season.
Michael Swain is our guest. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for 24/7 Sports and Fog.net. Go be a VIP if you're not already. It's the best way to get all the best insight into what is going on with KU athletics. So from the team to the seed to the draw itself in this West Regional, you've got the best pod of coaching maybe ever in the NCAA tournament opening rounds with Bill Self, John Calipari, that one may be a little more iffy, and then Rick Pitino also looming potentially in the second round. What do you make of this draw, both this pod for KU on the first weekend, but also what the West Regional looks like in general?
It's okay, how many storylines can we pack into one little kind of pod for a weekend, right?
The narrative region.
Yeah, exactly. I love that Hunter Dickinson pointed it out too, right? I think, I think so many times now people are afraid to say things. And I think Hunter said the quiet part out loud, and there's nothing wrong with it. This is sports and it's not that serious sometimes. So I think to get a draw like this, where it is John Calipari, Rick Pitino, and Bill Self, I think that's really interesting. And if you want to play the game too of it's Rick Pitino back in Providence, right? That's another storyline you got here too. So in terms of the draw, you can look at and say, KU, I think it's a mixed draw where I think you could say Arkansas is definitely one of, the better 10 seeds, but also St. John's is considered to be, one of the worst number 2 seeds. So for KU, it's one of those where if you want to hold your hand up and say, getting Arkansas is a tough draw, bad luck, blah, 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 you'd say, well, getting St. John's as the 2 seed is good luck. Now KU's just got to control what they can control and beat Arkansas to advance. But I think in terms of a little pod, and then, if you want to go broadly into the region, I mean, you're looking at a Sweet 16 game against Missouri, potentially playing like a Florida or a Texas Tech, I want to say, right, in the Elite 8. Like, man, it's jam-packed. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see, how KU does and really just how some of these storylines unfold.
Yeah, the West is what I've thought of as the region of death this year, because if nothing else, the coaching in this particular region is so strong. Obviously the KU pod, but even up north, as much as I hate to say it, the job Dennis Gates has done this year is great. Ben McCollum is a superstar on the rise in college basketball. Todd Golden, obviously at Florida, has done a great job as of late. So as we look ahead then to the matchup in the opening round with Arkansas, and obviously if you're a KU fan, you're at this point not used to losing on the first day of the tournament, even if the first weekend has been commonplace the last couple of years. You mentioned, and you're 100% right, Michael, that you are a different team now than you were in November. Well, what about October? What can we take anything away at all from when these two teams essentially scrimmaged before the year even began?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I would take away from that exhibition game is just the athleticism that Arkansas has. And I think if you want to look throughout the course of the year, what are the teams that have given KU the most trouble? I really do think it's teams that have had athletic guards. That second half against Baylor just sits in my head, thinking about the way that Baylor just drove at KU, and there's nothing KU could do about it because their ball screen defense was so terrible. And I think this is the type of game where for KU, you can draw the athleticism stuff from the first game, but I don't know if you're a KU fan, you can really say too much more than that. Zach Clemens played a bunch, Jamari McDowell played a bunch, Lakeith Passmore played a bunch, and Hunter Dickinson and Riley Griffin didn't play. So really outside of that, I'm not sure how much you can really read into this. And I think regardless, though, it makes for a really interesting matchup because of the way Arkansas has played of late, right? They've done a great job of getting to the free throw line. They're averaging like 20 free throw attempts per game. They're getting a ton of points from the free throw line as well. And that, when I look at the game, is a huge issue for KU because I wouldn't say KU's deepest team right now. And if all of a sudden you're looking at the under 16 media timeout and Hunter Dickinson has 2 fouls because, Boogie Fland or John L. Davis drove at him and got into him and drew 2 fouls, that's a recipe for disaster for KU. So I think that, that aspect of the game is going to be really important for KU. And then I think generally against this Arkansas team, you got to protect the paint, got to force those guys into mid-range jumpers and threes because that's how, if KU is going to win this game, it's going to be because Arkansas, to some degree, shoots itself out of it with 3-point shooting, with mid-range jumpers. And if Arkansas wins and KU loses, I think it's because Arkansas got to the free throw line, KU didn't get to the free throw line, and Arkansas had a layup line all game.
I was going to bring that up too, in that if KU is going to win this game, it's probably because you're forcing Arkansas to shoot it because we know they're not a very good team, and you can somehow find a way to neutralize Adu Thero. And now it sounds like it is less likely that he is going to play than maybe we had previously thought. Maybe he'd be able to gut it out. Sounds like they are not expecting Arkansas's not Thero to play down low. How does that change this matchup for KU on either end?
Yeah, well, obviously, right. I believe second leading scorer. Man, he's a talented player and was a really big, honestly, portal get for them. But when I look at what Arkansas is right now, it's kind of KU. They have 3 big men that split the minutes between the 4 and the 5. Very rarely do they go small with Knox at the 4. But generally speaking, they play 2 bigs most of the time. And I think that lines up pretty well for KU in this game. And I think for them, right, having Fland back really changes things. And look, Arkansas is a team, too, that has a lot of depth issues. I was listening to Calipari's deal before they left, and he was talking about how getting Boogie Fland back means they have 8 players they can rely on. And just I was thinking about, like, man, that's kind of crazy that, you look at what they've done lately, and it's been with 7 players. And so this is a team that if you can get them in foul trouble for KU, right, all of a sudden you're looking at guys either having to play with foul trouble, having to play conservatively, or just not playing at all. And so I think for KU, it's one of those that the athleticism is not a good matchup, but if you're going to draw up a team to play, you wouldn't want KU facing a team that jacks a lot of threes. Well, Arkansas is not that. You wouldn't want a team that I think has the guards just generally, right, that can go get their own from 3. Yeah, Arkansas doesn't have that. And you want a team that plays with 2 bigs so that you're not having KJ Adams playing a small guard. I think Arkansas has that as well. So I think really this is it's a good matchup for KU in terms of style of play, but I think there's still some dangerous things that Arkansas can do to put some big pressure on KU.
We've got a few more questions for Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports, where he covers all things Kansas Jayhawks basketball, football, and recruiting. Make sure you're a VIP over at Fog.net for all the best insight into KU athletics. Michael, I'm going to start this. I'm going to give you 6 consecutive numbers. I'm going to ask you to guess what they mean, and then I'm going to ask you what the hell happened. Okay? So here are the numbers.
Oh, no.
0, 3, 2, 0, 19, 0. What do those numbers mean, and where did that 19 come from?
Oh, that's AJ Store's point total.
In the last 6 games, yes.
Yeah, and so what that was a lot of AJ Store, and then a lot more AJ Store, and even more AJ Store. I don't know, man. Like, I what do they call it? A precedent-breaking game. Like, it was a trend-breaking game for him against UCF, and I struggle to buy into the player we've seen over the last 3-4 months, all of a sudden changing, when March comes around. Every once in a while has a big game, and I think that was AJ's, man. It's been a rough go for him, and he's the type of player that I think KU's going to need to be productive. Now, do they need 19 points out of him? I mean, of course you'll take that, but I think KU needs him to be steady and just not automatically have the other team go on a run as soon as you get in the game. And man, it's just been rough, and that I just don't know with that UCF game, right? That comes down to shot making, and that is something that he just hasn't done consistently this year.
He was 7 for 11 from the floor in that game. You have to go all the way back, I believe, to the 11th of February to get enough games previously for him to have made 7 shots. Like that's one of the most ridiculous performances I can remember in a KU uniform. But you're right. I mean, you need a guy like this to contribute. But to me, Michael, the big problem here is even guys who have been better than Storr this year, like a Rylan Griffin overall, has been inconsistent. Other than Hunter Dickinson and kind of to a degree KJ Adams, I just don't know where that consistency is going to come from in a game every 2 days tournament setting.
Yeah, right, and that's I think the big worry for KU to go on a run. Right, it's going to be someone putting together a consistent stretch that they've not done in the last 2 months. I was looking earlier. I think Rylan Griffin over the last 6 or 8 games is shooting like 25% from the field. Like it's just rough for him. It's rough for AJ. Shaq's not really been playing. Rakis isn't getting opportunities. So all of a sudden you're looking at the team for KU, and it's, man, who can provide something off the bench? Well, is it Diggy? I don't know if Arkansas is the game for Diggy, right? With the athleticism they have and the size they have, I'm not sure about that. But KU's going to have to play him. They're just going to have to play him. And so is Flory going to be that guy? Can Flory find a little stretch of games where, you remember back in mid-January when he was averaging, 15, 12, in like 15, 12, and 15, I want to say, over like a 3-game stretch, something like that. Can you get one of those stretches out of him? Because if not, there's a lot of pressure on Hunter and KJ and DeJuan and Zeke to score. And that's just, you need more firepower than that in the NCAA tournament.
The KU roster is going to turn over a lot come next season. I think everybody is aware of that, even if we don't know exactly who is going to leave. I think we can all make some guesses as to who will probably transfer out. We obviously know the guys who are going to graduate and be done with college basketball. Do you think, and I won't ask you to name any names or give any, sort of inside private information here, but for guys who might be considering entering the portal and leaving again, do you think anyone could have a great tournament run and that would keep them in Lawrence? Or do you think at this point maybe some of those decisions are already, done and dusted?
That's a really good question. I think for the most part, people's opinions are probably made up by now. And I think what people decide to do, I'm not too sure if it could be impacted greatly by an NCAA tournament run. Now, if KU goes on and wins the title or makes the Final Four, I retract what I'm saying right now, because that is the level of success that can, I think, cause a player to rethink a decision. But I think right now, I think to some degree the hay's in the barn, right, with what guys are going to decide to do. Now, right, the exit meetings after the season, those are a really important piece to this too. When it comes down to coaches and players and their parents or their guardians, and talking about what the season is and what is the next step and what it looks like in Kansas, that will change a lot. But I think right now, kind of, if you're a fan sitting at home and you're doing the math in your head of who's staying and who's going, I'm not too sure if a tournament run to the Sweet 16 is really going to go out and change a lot of those players' opinions.
All right, last two I've got for you, Michael. Number one, earlier today, Hunter Dickinson named a third-team All-American, third All-America honor of his career, second year in a row he's gotten one at KU. Was it deserved?
Yeah, and God, I feel like I'm carving myself a little niche here where I'm I think Hunter Dickinson's now officially underrated. You look at what he's done.
Absolutely.
And it's something that it's because of his personality. It's because he's been around so long. It's kind of some degree the Perry Ellis thing where people are oh, this guy's still in college? Oh, you must not be, are we missing it? It's no, you're not missing it. The dude's really freaking good. And, third team All-American, great. I could go out here and make an argument he should be first or second team All-American, right? You look at the inconsistency he has dealt with and the level of, I think, consistency he has brought to Kansas. Man, I'm not too sure if there are any other big men in the country that could have done what Hunter has done with this certain roster construction and with the way the season has gone. So I think it's totally deserved. And again, I think he's almost now kind of underrated. And I just think that in and of itself is kind of a crazy thing to say, but I do believe it.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I know the season is about to be over here sometime in the next 3 weeks, but I could spend an entire conversation with you, Michael, complaining about people who think he's a bad basketball player. It drives me up the wall. All right, real quick, before we let you go, because I know you've got a busy day ahead of you. Last thing, who's your national championship pick?
My national championship pick, I'm going to go with Houston. I'm going to get some Big 12 bias up in here. I think they are built for the tournament. You think about, and this is why I say this, you think about that COVID team, 2020 Kansas team. What were they great at? They executed their butts off, and they played really good defense. What does this Houston team do? Man, they execute really well, and they play really freaking good defense. And I think that's what wins you in the NCAA tournament. Guard play, super important. Shooting, important, but you can be hot and cold. What wins you games is the ability to play really good defense. And when you get down in the final 3 minutes of a game, can you execute the play your coach calls? And I think Houston has the ability to do that. So I think they're going to go all the way and do it.
Michael Swain joins our Dan Lucero picking Houston to win it all this year. Michael joins us every single Tuesday at this time to break down all things KU on Jayhawk Weekly. Make sure you're go and be a VIP at fog.net for the best insight into all things KU. Michael, man, we appreciate the time. Safe travels to Providence and enjoy the tournament, however long it lasts.
Awesome. Sounds great, guys. Thanks. And you guys enjoy the tournament as well.
Good stuff as always from Michael Swain. We've got to get to a quick timeout. We'll come on back, wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, talk a little Ichabod basketball coming up tonight against MSU Moorhead. That's after this on 580 WIBW.
On-farm accidents happen in seconds, but safety lasts a lifetime. Join the Safety is Counted in Seconds workshop on March 26 at 4 p.m. at CanEquip in Ottawa. Learn life-saving tractor and skid loader safety tips in this interactive training. Plus, attend for your chance to win a $100 Visa gift card. Proudly sponsored by Agri Services Agency and the Farm Profit Seminar, helping farmers stay protected with affordable insurance. The Safety is Counted in Seconds, March 26, 4 p.m. at CanEquip in Ottawa.
It used to seem like science fiction, stem cell therapy. For years now, Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center has been using this procedure to help people find relief from chronic pain. There are others out there who want to sell you stem cells from who knows where, but KRMC uses only your body's own stem cells because the safest, most effective source for these smart cells is you. Live the life you love. Contact Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center in Manhattan and Kansas City. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
WIBW, Topeka.
We've got a half an hour left on 580 Sports Talk today, off early because of Westwood One's coverage of the first 4. Spencer's got you the rest of the way. I'm out of here. I am headed to a sold-out Lee Arena. First regional final for Washburn Ichabod's basketball since 2001, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 24 years. This is one of the biggest games in the history of Washburn men's basketball. I hope to see you at Lee Arena. If you're not going to be there, I hope you will join me for the call over on Country 106.9. Pregame at about 6:45, tip-off at 7 o'clock. A monumental game in the history of Washburn Ichabod's athletics, and I cannot wait for it tonight. So I will join you again coming up tomorrow at 3. Spencer Dupuis got you for the final half hour with today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
East Kansas Agri-Energy has been serving farmers and ranchers for over 20 years, marketing for the farmers of their corn crop and source of wet and dry distillers grains for cattle producers. Over 50 million gallons of renewable, clean-burning ethanol has been produced through the facility, only doing this with the support of the local farmers, marketing their grain through EKAE and the ranchers purchasing their wet and dry distillers for high-quality feed. Visit EKAELLC.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rep in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep 149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, cause this deal's for a limited time. 149
For tax prep that's $149 or less. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/140.
Testing.
We are live from Chick-fil-A.
This is Grant.
And this is Laura.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that sweet bun.
And that chicken filet was perfectly crispy and soft at the same time.
And that Smokehouse Barbecue sauce, it's a lot of fun. And the brown sugar bacon definitely had a little bit more pizzazz. Also, the mac, one of the all-time greats. Man, I'm getting hungry.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and a Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
This is the voice of Kansas, WIBW Topeka.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. President Trump spoke by phone today with Russia's president. It was a lengthy call focused on Ukraine. Stacey Lynn reports.
They agreed to an immediate pause in strikes against energy and infrastructure. But Putin stopped short of backing the broader 30-day pause in fighting that the U.S. is pressing for. Ukrainian President Zelensky says he supports the energy truce, but insists Russia isn't ready to end the war. The White House says fresh Ukraine peace talks on a full ceasefire deal will begin in the Middle East immediately. Stacey Lynn, CBS News, the White House.
Israel resumed its airstrikes in Gaza overnight. Robert Berger has more from Jerusalem.
This was just the opening salvo. They are targeting, according to the military leaders of Hamas, political leaders, military leaders, of course, gunmen.
Prime Minister Netanyahu says the strikes are only the beginning. Charles Kupchan at the Council on Foreign Relations.
I think what we're seeing is Israel ratcheting up the pressure. First by cutting off humanitarian assistance, then by targeted military strikes, and now a more sustained campaign as a way of engaging in coercive bargaining.
Israel's defense minister says Hamas must understand the rules of the game have changed. 2 astronauts who've been stranded in space for months have just returned to Earth. Here's Christian Benavides.
It's the end of a space saga for astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams following their extended stay at the International Space Station.
Parting Crew 9 crew members posing for some final photos.
The pair, along with a fellow astronaut and a cosmonaut, undocked from the ISS overnight for the return to Earth in a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule.
There was a highly unusual statement from a Chief Justice today. John Roberts weighed in on President Trump's calls to remove judges who ruled against him. Roberts said that's not appropriate. Legal analyst Laurie Levinson.
Trump's postings on social media did send the message that the executive branch and Trump don't want to follow the orders of the court, and that they will try extreme measures like impeachment to get rid of federal judges.
There is more severe weather set to move across the U.S., and with it, dangerous winds. Meteorologist Grant Gilmore.
There is this extreme fire risk because of these really gusty conditions over this very dry part of the country. Northern Texas, southeastern New Mexico, into western Oklahoma, where we really have to watch out for those gusty winds potentially sparking and spreading these wildfires.
On Wall Street, the Dow finished the day 260 points lower. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Kansas Information Network News. I'm Lisa Ruttman. Residents needing sidewalk repairs may be able to get some help from the city of Emporia.
The city is publicizing its annual hazardous sidewalk program. The program is a cost share where residential owners pay 25% of the cost and commercial owners pay 50% of repairs. The city picks up the remaining amount in either case. The funds are limited to $100,000 available at the start of the year. Residents wanting more information can go to the city's website at emporiaks.gov/sidewalk. I'm Lou Flores.
An ember from an old unattended campfire is to blame for a large grass fire in Douglas County. The blaze broke out near Clinton Lake and spread to nearly 200 acres before it was contained. No structures were destroyed by the fire and no injuries were reported. This is Kansas Information Network News.
Hi, Dan Lucero with 580 Sports Talk here. You know, winter could do a number on your garage. Salt stains, cracks, a floor that's looking worse for wear. But Hello Garage has the solution. Their polyaspartic floor coating is more durable than epoxy, resists peeling, cracking, and yellowing, and installs in just about a day. That means your garage is ready for whatever spring might throw at it. And if clutter has taken over, now's the time to take back your space. Hello Garage offers custom storage solutions, slat walls, shelving, and overhead racks, so you can finally have a place for everything. No more searching for tools, no more yard gear and piles, just a clean, organized space that works for you. Whether you're tackling home projects, getting your yard gear in order, or you just want a garage you're proud of, Hello Garage can help. Visit HelloGarage.com today to schedule your free estimate. So the best part of spring, other than baseball season, can be springing into a new garage with HelloGarage.com.
On-farm accidents happen in seconds, but safety lasts a lifetime. Join the Safety is Counted in Seconds workshop on March 26 at 4 p.m. at Can-Equip in Ottawa. Learn life-saving tractor and skid loader safety tips in this interactive training. Plus, attend for your chance to win a $100 Visa gift card. Proudly sponsored by Agri Services Agency and the Farm Profit Seminar, helping farmers stay protected with affordable insurance. The Safety is Counted in Seconds, March 26, 4 p.m. at Can-Equip in Ottawa.
Here's your updated forecast on 580 WIBW. A red flag warning continues. A high wind warning begins at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. Cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 83. Winds out of the south 10 to 20 miles an hour. 39 tonight. Overcast tomorrow. Rain becoming mixed precipitation. High at 45. I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Capital Federal Weather Center. Right now, it's 77 degrees.
On air and online at 580WIBW.com.
It's the youngest in command movement. You got me for 23 and a half more minutes before we send things to Westwood One's coverage of the first four, as things will get going here at 5:40. We'll have a pregame coverage from Westwood One starting at 5:30 as 16-seeded St. Francis PA takes on 16-seeded Alabama State. South Region's first four. And then coverage following that will take you to 11-seeded North Carolina against 11-seeded San Diego State, for the other South Region first four. That tip-off of that game is set for 8:10 p.m. Again, we'll have coverage starting at 5:30 with Westwood One for a 5:40 tip between St. Francis, PA, Alabama State. Then 8:10 p.m. North Carolina taking on San Diego State. But until then, we'll get some headlines and a final word, and then I am out of here for the day. You get Westwood One's coverage at 5:30, and then you can head on over to Lee Arena for 7 p.m. contest as Washburn tries to win the Central Region tonight against MSU Moorhead. If you can't get over there, tune in to our sister station, Country 106.9, for the broadcast with Brendan Dorzinski beginning at 6:45 tonight for that 7 o'clock tip-off. But we have some breaking news coming in this hour. We talked about it during hour one about the potential head coaching situation at Indiana. We had talked yesterday about Iowa's head coaching position, about how West Virginia head coach Darian DeVries was among the people being talked to. Allegedly Sunday he was in Iowa. Sunday night he was in Iowa. Yesterday maybe it was. He was visiting Iowa with their head coach. Then he has scheduled a meeting with the West Virginia athletic department today, allegedly, per my sources. Well, guess what? He is targeted to be Indiana's next head coach, according to Pete Thamel and Jeff Borzelio of ESPN. A deal is expected to come in the near future, sources said. That is our first headline as we get into headline segment here on 580 Sports Talk. The realm of college hoops in the Big 12 will change once again as West Virginia now looking for another head coach. That is, I guess, technically 3 in 3 years. They've had 3 different head coach. Well, yeah, it'll be 3 different head coaches in 3 seasons. As you had coach, you had their interim head coach after Bob Huggins. Now I'm forgetting the name of their interim head coach. Josh Eiler. So you had Bob Huggins, you had his whole situation. Then you had Josh Eiler at the interim. He coached the whole season as the interim. Then last year you go through a nationwide process of trying to see who's going to be your next head coach. You make Drake's head coach, Darian DeVries, your next head coach, and you think there's a future there. Fortunately not. Darren DeVries has all but accepted, and he's all but going to be named the next head coach of Indiana, taking that next model of mid-major to major and moving on to an even bigger major college basketball program. And the next domino to fall is who's going to take over at West Virginia. Obviously, they should be pretty well equipped with this search because guess what? They did a nationwide search last year. Is it going to be Ben McCollum? Will it be him? Will they make the move as he goes from D2 to D1 mid-major to could he go to major college basketball in the Big 12 with West Virginia? Who knows? Is there anybody else that was, targeted for them last year that maybe they'll think about going again this year? That's a lot. There's still many more questions to answer. But the latest is Indiana is targeting West Virginia's head coach, Darian DeVries, according to Pete Thamel and Jeff Borzello of ESPN. A deal is expected to come in the near future. DeVries obviously spent 1 season with the Mountaineers, getting hired just about a year ago to replace interim head coach Josh Eiler, who had taken over Bob Huggins following his forced resignation in June of 2023. In his lone season at the helm, DeVries led West Virginia to a 19-13 overall record, finishing 10-10 in the Big 12 before getting snubbed on Selection Sunday. And then the West Virginia governor decided to come out and say, well, we're going to sue the NCAA and their selection committee because the West Virginia wasn't in, which makes them look even worse now because it appeared West Virginia had no plans of being in any postseason tournament because DeVries was done. And that whole situation looks wild now, but he signed a 5-year contract last year, 5-year deal when he was hired. The total buyout is expected to cost $6.15 million. So Big Ten is piggying up the big bucks. The buyout for the remaining contract is $4.67. There's additional expenses per the contract that include expenses such as paying the buyout West Virginia paid from Drake and other expenses included in his hiring. Obviously, prior to taking over in Morgantown, DeVries was a head coach of Drake for 6 seasons, guiding the Bulldogs to 3 NCAA tournament appearances in his final 4 seasons. He went 150-55 during his time at Drake, winning at least 20 games in every season. The Bulldogs won the Missouri Valley regular season championship in 2019, the conference championship in 23 and 24. Drake won their first 4 game in 2021 and lost in the first round to Miami in 23 and Washington State. DeVries spent 20 seasons on staff at Creighton before becoming a head coach, 17 years as an assistant under Dana Altman and Greg McDermott. Obviously at Indiana, he would replace Mike Woodson, who announced in early February that he planned to step down at the end of his 4th season in Bloomington. Woodson, who's a former player, led the Hoosiers to the NCAA tournament each of his first 2 seasons, but was dealt with speculation surrounding his future most of the last 2 seasons. They missed the NCAA tournament both years, being named one of the first 4 teams left out of this year's field. This is just crazy because guess what? Tucker DeVries is going to get a 3rd shot. He was obviously the heart of much of DeVries' head coaching success, earning the Missouri Valley Player of the Year in both 23 and 24 before following him to West Virginia. He played just 8 games for the Mountaineers this season before missing the rest of the campaign due to an upper body injury. The school is expected to apply for a medical redshirt, which would give him one more year of eligibility, and that would potentially be at Indiana. And this is just crazy development here over the last 24 to 48 hours following the selection snub for West Virginia. I sure am shocked that this came down as fast as it did. I kind of thought we were going to get to see at least Ben McCollum interview for the position and potentially wait till his NCAA tournament run was done with Drake this year. But Darren DeVries, your next head coach for Indiana, the Hoosiers, he moves from Missouri Valley to the Big 12 to the Big 10, all in the matter of 13 months. And crazy start to the college coaching carousel for college hoops, as Darren DeVries will be the next head coach at Indiana, thus leaving an opening at West Virginia. And I'm going to have to go do some research here and see who were the other candidates last year for West Virginia, because I'd be interesting to see what the search brought last year. Let's see if I can figure that out here. Who are some other guys? I guess we've got some wild cards that could emerge. Obviously, it would be the head coach or one of the assistants would be Chester Frazier. You got Josh Schertz at St. Louis, Nico Medved at Colorado State. Ben McCollum could move to the Big 12. Will Wade could come from McNeese State. Ryan Odom from VCU making the tournament this year. Alan Haas, High Point, obviously making the tournament. John Grace, Akron, obviously making the tournament. Gerard Calhoun, Utah State, team making the tournament. Bryce Drew, Grand Canyon. And, of course, this West Virginia Mountaineers on SI.com lists the wild card as Bob Huggins. I don't understand why West Virginia cannot get over that Bob Huggins will no longer coach at West Virginia ever again. I will never understand why they can't get over that, but it's kind of funny to me. And I guess their thought comes from now, especially Rich Rod coming back to West Virginia after people thought he wasn't going to return. But all signs point to Darren DeVries being one and done in Morgantown and heading to Indiana, heading to the Big 12 to coach the Hoosiers. And as I just mentioned, a few names could be potentially in the running for West Virginia to be their next head coach after having to hire yet another head coach and 2 hiring cycles in a row after having an interim and then having Bob Huggins force resignation. But crazy timing to all this. That is our first headline. Our first headline on this hour's headlines. We'll get to the next one here. We'll stay with college hoops and All-American selections the All-American selections were selected. Johnny Bromey and Cooper Flagg, unanimous All-America selections, as they are part of the first team. Let me figure out if I can get the list here before where I have a list of players. It appears, yeah. So I'm trying to find just the first team because there's going to be, yeah. Okay, so they were joined on the first team by Alabama star Mark Sears, Purdue's Braden Smith, and Walter Clayton Jr. of Florida. The second team, JT Toppin. Obviously, everybody knows him from Texas Tech after he transferred from New Mexico. John Tonje from Missouri to Wisconsin. So Wisconsin representative PJ Haggerty for Memphis as he came from Tulsa. They all took advantage of the change of scenery to break out seasons and earn second team All-America honors. The trio was joined on the second team by Cam Jones of Marquette and R.J. Lewis Jr. of St. John's. Third team, recognizable name, Hunter Dickinson of Kansas and fellow big man Ryan Kalkbrenner of Creighton were among the third team picks. They were joined by Zakai Ziegler of Tennessee, Eric Dixon of Villanova, and Houston's LJ Cryer, the Big 12 Player of the Year and an honorable mention pick last season for the All-America picks. Chaz Lanier of Tennessee, Trey Kaufman Wren of Purdue were among the next 10, including ties in voting for honorable mentions. Other honorable mentions include Donovan Dent of New Mexico, Drake's Bennett Schertz, and Chucky Halpern of Louisiana. But Hunter Dickinson gets yet another All-American honor. Let me double check here. I believe it's his third All-American honor in college and his second at West Virginia. Let me see if I can not West Virginia, at KU, excuse me. Let me click on this link and make certain. Continue. Here we go. Let me make certain that I was right with that. Well, it doesn't even have anything on here. But I believe Hunter Dickinson, he had 1 in 21 at when he was at Michigan. Let me double check on that. I want to make sure I'm factually right on that, but I believe it was 21, or maybe it was at 22. I thought it would be up there. Oh, here it is. Okay. Yes, it was this year's. Yep. So he was in Michigan in 2021 and then KU last year. He earned second team recognition consensus. Yeah. So congratulations to Hunter Dickinson. Obviously, KU is 7th seed in the NCAA tournament. They play Thursday. They take on 10-seeded Arkansas in Providence, Rhode Island, 6:10 p.m. tip on CBS. Our next headline stays in college hoops, moves to the women's side. We talked about this yesterday. We actually played a clip from KSNT's K-Nation from Landon Reinhardt of KSNT when he talked to K-State women's head coach Jeff Mittie after the selection show about the Missouri job. Well, K-State fans, you don't have to worry about Jeff Mittie leaving for Missouri anymore, because just about 2 hours ago, former Tennessee player and coach Keely Harper has been hired as the new head coach for Missouri women's basketball. The school announced today she'll be returning to the Show Me State, where she spent 2013 to 19 at Missouri State. She took the Bears to the Sweet 16 in 2019 and then was hired to replace Holly Warlick at Tennessee. She went 108-52 in 5 seasons with the Lady Vols, making the Sweet 16 twice. She was fired after last season when they went 20-13, 10-6 in the SEC, and lost in the NCAA tournament second round to the eventual Final Four, NC State. So you don't have to worry about Jeff Mittie leaving just yet for Missouri. Obviously, that's where the big questions were for him. And I think that is huge that Jeff Mittie can take those distractions off the table, barring any new head coaching distractions coming or speculation about where he could go next. But that's huge before you start the tournament. They're going to start Friday. I believe they play in the 1 p.m. hour Central when they start the NCAA tournament. Let me double check on the time of that. They play Friday at 1:30 against 12-seeded Fairfield as the 5th seed in the Lexington Regional in Kentucky. Moving on to our next headline here from KU Athletics. We'll stay with the college scene here. Kansas State baseball received its first ranking since 2014 this week, with the Jayhawks coming in at number 22 in the National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association poll that was released on Monday. Kansas is off to its best 20-game start in program history with a 17-3 overall record. The Jayhawks have won each of their first 5 weekend series for the first time since 2003. They won their opening Big 12 series this past weekend by taking 2 out of 3 against Baylor. The Jayhawks outscored the Bears by a combined 30-17, hit 9 home runs over the weekend. They has won its opening conference series in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 13 and 14. KU leads the Big 12 and is third in the nation with 46 homers. Jackson Hogg, who leads the team with 11 homers, is tied for third in the nation, was named Big 12 Player of the Week this week, so more recognition for the Jayhawks on the baseball diamond. KU will play 4 games in Arizona this week, beginning tonight at Arizona in the non-conference game at 8 p.m. Central. Then they will play Arizona State for a 3-game series March 21st to 23rd. And looks like that will wrap it up here for our headline segment. When we come back, we'll get a final word, and we'll wrap things up, send things to the NCAA tournament first 4 after we get the final word. Coming up next here on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW.
Are you feeling low on energy, tired, or struggling to focus? It could be low testosterone, but you're not alone, guys. Many men experience a natural decline in testosterone levels as they age. At Heartland Health and Wellness, they offer personalized testosterone treatments designed to help you feel like yourself again. Their team of experts works with you to restore your vitality and boost your energy levels. Schedule a visit today by calling 785-286-7069 or visit heartlandhealthtopeka.com. That's 785-286-7069 or heartlandhealthtopeka.com. Take the first step toward a healthier, more energized you.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Spring is in the air. Time to tackle that to-do list. Clean the house, refresh the yard. But what about your car? At Charlie's Car Wash, they make spring cleaning easy. Their express interior service, vacuums, wipes, and shines, leaving your ride looking and feeling brand new. Stop by Charlie's Car Wash at Wanamaker and Huntoon in Topeka today. Charlie's Car Wash, interior clean, exterior shine, every time.
It used to seem like science fiction. Stem cell therapy. For years now, Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center has been using this procedure to help people find relief from chronic pain. There are others out there who want to sell you stem cells from who knows where. But KRMC uses only your body's own stem cells because the safest, most effective source for these smart cells is you. Live the life you love. Contact Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center in Manhattan and Kansas City. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs. Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
When it comes to finding great deals on suits, timing's everything. And now's the time, because Macy's semi-annual suit sale is here. Save 40 to 60% on new suits and blazers from Calvin Klein and Michael Kors, with performance suits starting at $99.99. And if you need advice on the perfect fit, Macy's free personal stylists are here at the store and ready to help. If you need a new suit, there's no time like the present, because the Macy's suit sale won't be back until the fall. Savings off already
WIBW, Topeka.
One more thing. In conclusion, you better wrap it up.
Final word time here on 580 Sports Talk. The youngest in command movement coming to an end as we secede to NCAA tournament first four coverage from Westwood 1. But remember, tune over to Country 106.9 tonight, 6:45 pregame, 7 p.m. tip as Washburn tries to secure the Central Region and into the Elite Eight as they take on MSU Moorhead with our own Brendan Dorzinski on the call. If you can't get to Lee Arena, if you can, get down to Lee Arena for the 7 p.m. tip-off. For Brendan Dorzinski, I'm Spencer Dupuis saying so long, and how about this? Go Bots!
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. I care deeply about creating a world we can all fully participate in, free from stigma, misperceptions, and barriers. And we've got to trust